Last time I was talking about movies and shows that passed the torch from an old cast to a new cast. Today I want to talk about Cobra Kai because I'm all caught up with season 4 and man is it awesome. I want to tell you about it, but first a word from this video's sponsor. Over the years of doing AVGN, I've collected a lot of games, some from friends, some from fans, some of them from my childhood collection. But with all these games, it can be a little overwhelming to decide what to play, but lately there's been one that's captured my interest, and that is, of course, Raid Shadow Legends. Available on mobile and PC, gather your party and battle your way through a beefy campaign against other players in PvP or team up with them to take on challenging bosses. And much like all the games in this room, there's many champions to choose from to build your team. So, which are my go-tos? Of course, Miscreated Monster is one. It's pretty much Frankenstein's monster with a giant Tesla coil as a weapon, so how could I say no? Herndig is another favorite. He's just a mystical dwarf with a funny name. What's not to love? And then there's Tarshan. With a face like that, need I say more? For the month of February, Raid has a ton of things happening, like an all-new rotation of the terrifying Hydra boss, plus a boatload of tournaments and events every single day, including special Valentine's Day events that can net you a brand new legendary champion. New players can get a big head start too by clicking the link in the description. New players will get a free champion, Vergus, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in-game. You'll find these rewards in your inbox here for the next 30 days only. Again, just click the link in the description or scan the QR code. It's that easy. To begin with, Cobra Kai was a very nice surprise. I don't think anyone expected a sequel to the original Karate Kid films, let alone a whole TV series. Maybe 10 years ago, this would have seemed like a joke. What would it be called? The Karate Adult? But then came Cobra Kai, and wow, it works so well. It's one of my favorite modern shows. Every time a new season comes out, my wife and I watch the whole thing. My wife isn't even interested in martial arts films, but still likes this, so it has a very wide appeal. It feels like something teenagers could watch, as well as adults who grew up on the original movies. It does a really good job filling you in on all the things that happened in the films, in case you didn't see them. I was really impressed with how it's able to play on 80s cliches, but also modernizes it at the same time. The aspect of social media plays a big part in the bullying, which can be very serious and dark at times, but the show also has many humorous elements too. It's a great mix of comedy, drama, and action, like Saved by the Bell with martial arts. Since I'll be talking about things all the way into season 4, much of what I say can be considered spoilers. So before we move ahead, spoiler alert. I already talked about it back when the show first aired, but in a nutshell, it follows a new generation of teenage characters, each with their own sets of troubles and hardships, and what leads them all to joining opposing karate dojos. There's the Cobra Kai dojo, which is first resurrected by Johnny Lawrence, and the Miyagi dojo, which Daniel LaRusso carries on in memory of his mentor, Mr. Miyagi, who is referenced heavily throughout, honoring the character's legacy, as well as the memory of Pat Morita, who played him. Johnny is still bitter and resentful following his loss to Daniel in the tournament from the first Karate Kid. Daniel tries to look forward, while Johnny is very much stuck in the past. Their rivalry takes on all new dimensions, slipping back and forth between friendship and feud. Throughout the series, we see old characters make peace, switch sides, and reveal more of their past that we never got the first time around. Of course, because it's a show, they have a lot more time to go in depth like that, and it pays off. I'll start with Johnny Lawrence, played by William Zabka. The best type of characters are the ones that are imperfect. On one hand, he's an asshole and you hate him, but I never expected this character to also become so lovable. He's still a screw-up and does bad things, but we also get a sympathetic side. He helps out his young neighbor Miguel, who's being bullied, and later helps him out even more while he's recovering from a spinal injury. So he can be a caring character, and also very funny, because he's stuck in the 80s. We see him use the internet for the first time. Dinosaurs built the pyramids. No shit. So to him, everything's always badass. He eventually calls his own dojo Eagle Fang. Eagle Fang. I like that. But above all, it's just really cool to see his side of the rivalry, that he has a certain viewpoint. In what could have just been a flat villain role, he is instead a full character. There's no black and white. He has contradictions. He's training and always trying to be healthy and disciplined, but he's also getting drunk and being a total mess. Daniel, played by Ralph Macchio, is now an owner of a car dealership and living his wealthy lifestyle with his new family until all the trouble starts. He wants to make peace and turn away from conflict whenever he can. And as the show goes on, he passes down the teachings and wisdom of Miyagi to his new students. Along the way, the show keeps bringing older characters back into the spotlight, such as Johnny's former sensei, John Kreese, played by Martin Kove. He comes back to reclaim his Cobra Kai throne. At first he's working with Johnny, but then he totally takes over and becomes a main villain again. He's just as intimidating as he was in the 80s. Another one of Daniel's enemies returns, Chosen, played by Yuji Okumoto. It's very endearing seeing him go from being this terrifying, bloodthirsty, vengeful character in Karate Kid 2, all the way to Cobra Kai becoming Daniel's friend. Also returning from Part 2 is Kumiko, played by Tamlin Tomita. She was Daniel's love interest during his stay in Japan, but she's more than just a love interest. She has always helped Daniel conquer his trials and move him to his next stage. Now, I could sit here and bring up every old character that comes back, but with the most recent Season 4, the big returning character is Terry Silver, played by Thomas Ian Griffith. Wow. I would have never thought I'd see this character step outside of the 80s, kind of like Ivan Drago from Rocky IV, who returned in Creed 2. Likewise, it seemed Terry Silver was kind of isolated to that era, being very over the top and crazy. But his reappearance is handled with absolute class. They bring him back in a believable way. He even admits to how insane it was when he was spending all his time terrorizing a teenager. Beyond that, it explores the psychological reasons why he may have acted the way he does, and we see him make that descent into madness all over again. So it's as if the character has been deconstructed, so we see all the parts that made him, and then we construct him back up and watch him become the Terry Silver we all know again. In flashbacks, we see how he's committed to repaying an eternal favor to John Kreese for saving him in Vietnam. To this point, he's obsessively loyal. He wants to do everything perfect for Kreese, to the point where one time I remember Kreese scolds him and he actually starts to almost cry. But as it goes on, we witness his motives change. He starts to plot against Kreese. By severing with him is his only way to be free, to unfold his master plan and become the supervillain of the series. He's a rather unstable character. You never know exactly what he's thinking or where he's going to go next, which makes him so much more frightening. Major compliments to Thomas Ian Griffith. It's proof that these actors mature and only get better as time goes on. And if you give them plenty of screen time with a good script, they can really shine. Fun fact, would you believe he's a year younger than Ralph Macchio, apparently? I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. But let's not forget the new cast. The young characters are all great. Even the ones who are cruel go through a lot of hard times and get sympathy from us. I've already mentioned Miguel, played by Xolo Maridueña. He plays an interesting part between the Johnny and Daniel side of things. He's trained by Johnny, but he's dating Daniel's daughter, Samantha, while also becoming rivals with Johnny's son, Robbie. With this whirlwind of relationships and complicated web of Cobra Kai that he gets entangled in, you always feel for him and hope he doesn't lose his way. Samantha, played by Mary Mouser, is one of the more consistently likable characters. I feel like I'm always taking her side. She's one of the top students of Miyagi-Do under her father Daniel, but she's eventually trained by Johnny in Eagle Fang, so she gets the best of both worlds. Her main enemy is Tori, played by Peyton List. She's one of the big Cobra Kai players, very confrontational, very intimidating. She plays a big part in the huge fight scene in the school that concludes Season 2. Lots of the best fight choreography in the series is centered around her. Then there's Eli, or Hawk, played by Jacob Bertrand. He's slowly emerged as one of my favorites. Sometimes he's sort of shy, but he can also be very intense and violent. He starts out getting bullied, then he turns to Cobra Kai, becoming a real badass player, and then he took his revenge too far, it seemed. So he went from being bullied to bullying others. Total flip. But as of lately in season 4, he's kind of become humbled again. He realizes how merciless and awful Cobra Kai is under John Kreese. So he starts to play on the Eagle Fang Miyagi-Do side of things. So seeing all these personality changes within him has been real interesting. I started out liking him, then hating him, and now liking him again. Kenny, played by Dallas Dupree Young, is one of the newcomers in season 4. I really liked him. There's not much to dislike, as he's being bullied, and then he turns to Cobra Kai and gets corrupted. By now, you sort of know what's going to happen next, but as you see it taking place, you feel bad for him the whole time. So kind of like Hawk, he also starts to become a bully by the end. I hope they give his character more time in the next seasons to see where they take him. So it's a lot to cram in, but by the end of season 4, you have this giant karate tournament. Now, stop and think. The original Karate Kid ends with the tournament. That's the formula. It's expected. But here, there's not just one Karate Kid. There's a whole cast of kids that we've been building up, and they're all competing in this same tournament. Not to mention, we have this 3-way competition of Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, and Eagle Fang. So this tournament becomes the mother of all tournaments. It's not one, but 2 full episodes that together clock in at 1 hour, 15 minutes. That's almost the entire length of the first Karate Kid movie, almost. But you followed all these characters and their intersecting stories. You care about them. You might find yourself trying to pick favorites. And the whole time, you can't predict who is going to win. Because in the first Karate Kid movie, of course, Daniel wins. But here, they can't all win. Any character that you followed could lose. So that's why I think season 4 is such a great finale. Now, it's not a series finale by any means, as it leaves the door wide open. I already said spoiler alert, so I might as well just say it. Cobra Kai wins, Daniel's forced into closing Miyagi-Do, Terry Silver puts John Kreese in jail, and fully takes over Cobra Kai, and has a master plan of opening more Cobra Kai dojos. And man, I thought it was all going to wrap up. I thought we'd get a resolution. But now, Daniel, with the help of his old enemy turned friend Chosen, vowed to do something to stop Cobra Kai. Well, I'm still hooked. Season 5, bring it on. It's funny because this is one of the reasons I prefer movies over TV. I'm a big fan of 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end. I like seeing stories that conclude and leave you with a satisfying resolution. You know, closing the book on that final chapter. Sure, movies can always leave it open for a sequel, but with TV, the idea is to string you along indefinitely. But hey, I'm on board. So, what old cast members will come back? Maybe Sean Kanan as Mike Barnes? Maybe Hilary Swank as Julie from the next Karate Kid? Or how about Jaden Smith as the other Karate Kid? Even though that movie doesn't exist in the same universe, it doesn't do anything that cancels it out. I think it's totally possible for it to cross over with Cobra Kai. I'd be into it. They should have called that movie The Kung Fu Kid, because he learns Kung Fu. But I know, marketing. Anyway, I'm looking forward to season 5. Catch you next time. Let me know what movies you'd like to see me review.